Singapore, officially the Republic of Singapore, is an island country and city-state in Southeast Asia. Singapore is a melting pot of ethnicities, with Chinese, Malay, and Indian groups forming the majority alongside Eurasian and other communities. The four official languages are English, Malay, Mandarin, and Tamil, reflecting the country's diverse linguistic landscape. The bronze sculpture called Heading Home is the work of Lim Leong Seng. It depicts an immigrant pulling a rickshaw, a common form of transportation in the early days of Singapore's development. The sculpture depicts a wealthy Peranakan lady setting off from home towards Jinariksha station, portraying the divide between the rich and poor in Singapore's early days. Nankin Street is a one-way street that connects South Bridge Road to China Street. It is named after the city of Nankin, now known as Nanjing in China. It was associated with the Samsui women who lived in Singapore, and tinsmiths who set up shop on the street during the 19th century. Chinatown is one of Singapore's most historically and culturally significant districts. Established under the Raffles Town Plan, also known as the Jackson Plan, the area southwest of Singapore River became a place of commerce, clan associations, and cultural institutions for Chinese migrants in Singapore, eventually growing into the area we now know as Chinatown. Chinatown grew from a racial enclave into a vibrant hub, best known for its shophouse-lined streets, traditional markets, and religious landmarks. Singapore's Chinatown is known as Niu Che Shui in Mandarin, Bu Chia Chui in Hokkien, both mean bullock water cart, and Kreta Air in Malay, which means water cart. This is due to the fact that Chinatown's water supply was principally transported by animal-driven carts in the 19th century. Constructed between 1830 and 1835, the Jame Mosque has an intricately designed Indian Muslim-style entrance. It was founded in 1826 by Chulia immigrants, who were among the pioneers of colonial Singapore's trade and economy. Sri Mariamman Temple is the oldest Hindu temple in Singapore. Since its construction in 1827, it has played an important role in the lives of Hindus here. The temple's most outstanding feature, the Gopuram or entrance tower, dates from the 1930s. The temple was established by Narayana Pillai, who came to the settlement with Raffles Party in 1819. In 1823, Pillai requested for some land to build a temple, but it was only in 1827 that the first temple building was erected. In the early years, it provided shelter for Indian immigrants, and was the only Hindu temple whose priests were vested with the authority to solemnize Hindu marriages. Dedicated to the mother goddess Sri Mariamman, the temple attracted many devotees, who turned to her powers of healing. Today, Sri Mariamman Temple is best known for the fire walking ceremony called Thimithi that is held every year in October or November. Devotees would walk on the hot coals as a test of their faith and devotion. The Buddha Tooth Relic Temple and Museum is a 5-story Buddhist temple and museum complex in Chinatown. This Chinese Buddhist temple cost 75 million Singapore dollars to set up, and is based on various elements of Tang Dynasty architecture. The building's design was inspired by the mandala, a symbol of Buddhist culture that represents the universe. The temple gets its name from what the Buddhists regard as the left canine tooth of Buddha, which has been recovered from his funeral pyre. The Buddha tooth relic is housed in a giant stupa made from 320 kilograms of gold. The 100 Dragons Hall is a key feature on the first floor, housing a 15-foot tall Buddha Maitreya statue at the center. Completed in 1842, Tian Hock Keng Temple, which means Palace of Heavenly Blessings, is a temple built for the worship of Mazu, a Chinese sea goddess. It is the oldest and most important temple of the Hokkien people in Singapore. Law Pasat, which means Old Market, also known as Teluk Ayer Market, is a historic building located within the downtown core in the central area of Singapore. It was first built in 1824 as a fish market on the waterfront serving the people of early colonial Singapore, and was rebuilt in 1838. The market was then relocated and rebuilt at the present location in 1894. It is currently a food court with stalls selling a variety of local cuisine. The market remains one of the oldest Victorian structures in Southeast Asia, and one of the first structures built in prefabricated cast iron in Asia. It is also the only remaining market left that served the residents in the central district of early Singapore. Established in November 2005, this is the second red dot design museum in the world. The museum showcases innovative product design and hosts events and exhibitions. Designed by Ned Khan and Moshe Safdie, the Rainoculus is a massive acrylic bowl that functions as both a skylight and a rainwater collector. The collected rainwater is channeled to form a large whirlpool that flows down 2 stories into a canal, offering sampan boat rides and serving as an eco-friendly water feature. Located in the heart of the city's Marina Bay, the Gardens by the Bay is a renowned nature park in Singapore. The park embodies Singapore's city in a garden vision and serves as a major tourist attraction. This urban oasis showcases global plants and offers attractions for all ages, including the OCBC Skyway, Floral Fantasy, and several free outdoor gardens. It features futuristic iconic structures like the Super Tree Grove and 2 climate-controlled conservatories, the Flower Dome and Cloud Forest. Super Tree Grove is an iconic and innovative park at Gardens by the Bay, featuring towering vertical gardens called super trees that blend nature with technology to create a futuristic landscape. These are 18 vertical gardens, with heights ranging from 25 to 50 meters, adorned with exotic plants, vines, and orchids. Visitors can walk among the super trees on the 128 meters long OCBC Skyway, or visit the Super Tree Observatory and experience the spectacular Garden Rhapsody light and sound show at night.